Are you a thoughtful leader? Maybe you are. Maybe you think you are. Let's find out. I'm Mindy Gibbins-Klein. I'm author of The Thoughtful Leader and host of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. Thoughtful leadership is all about thought leadership that goes above and beyond. Thought leadership that is truly new and original, exciting, disruptive, maybe even groundbreaking. Because let's face it, we need to raise the bar. My guests and I are absolutely obsessed with finding truly original thought leadership, and I'm going to bring you so many exciting ideas and opportunities, things for you to think about, and chances for you to push your thinking that you'll be very glad you tuned in. So thanks so much for checking out Thoughtful Leadership and the Thoughtful Leader podcast. I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. Welcome to the show. My guest today is the amazing thoughtful leader, David Hyner. Now, I've known David for many years, and I have seen him go from strength to strength, stretching himself and his clients. And his clients are sometimes surprising. I will let him tell you about the work he does and the importance of it in this world, which is so in need of more thoughtful leadership. Hello, David.
Hi, Mindy. How are you?
I'm well. I was trying not to give the game away there.
Thrilled to be here with you. Again, it's great.
Yeah, well, you've been on our hit list in the nicest possible way for a long time. We have wanted to feature you on the show, and you've been so busy with your projects, which is great. But the work that you do, especially in schools, is really, really important to me and my team. We watch what you do. We applaud what you do and what you achieve. So why don't you tell the viewers and listeners what you're up to, including the school stuff, but, why you do what you do.
Oh, love the last bit there. Why do we do what we do? We do what we do because we're interested in legacy. We're interested in making a lasting impact, not just making a difference. I mean, impact. Even though the way we present it seems like it's a bit perhaps over the top, we don't do it for applause, we do it for impact. One of the things we're most proud of, other than our family, is that the difference it has made in people's lives, the things people have done using our stuff. And it's based on 258 research interviews with top achievers from all over the world, interviewing millionaires, billionaires, captains of industry, scientists, inventors, academics, world champions of sport, you name it, even just one politician. Finding out how these people think and behave. And what we discovered, Mindy, is that they are not necessarily better than us. All they do is when they're focusing on what they want, they think and behave differently. That's it. So we modeled it, created something called the massive goal principle, because our research proved that SMART goals set us up for mediocrity at best. And we now have presented to just over 1.2 million people in the last 22 years, all over the world, ranging from kids in high schools, young adults, right up to chief exec peer groups, conferences. We're obsessed with what we do. We're obsessed with it.
Well, I think rightly so. Over 1 million clients. I don't know how many people can say that. And it just crept up on you. It just crept up, right? You weren't aiming for that. You just kept doing what you do. And, you are very, very good at it. So I know you keep saying we want to hear about you, David Hyner, because you're the one who is on that stage, for the standing ovations. I've been impressed with your material, but also your heart. So I know.
Thank you.
I know you have some really, really interesting insights into behavior. Again, not trying to give it away, but you have some personal experience, which I think will really benefit the listeners and viewers if you're willing to share anything about your family and what you do to keep things going and balanced.
Sure. I mean, we do have a pretty unusual home life in that, sadly, giving birth to my son, my wife became disabled. She's in near constant pain, although at the moment that's improving. So that's what I call And giving birth to our son, sadly, our son, who is now 15, nearly 16, he's got severe autism and other special needs. And lockdown wasn't kind to him. The combination of puberty, lockdown, and autism combined for a bit of a car crash for him. He became quite unstable. We ended up having a period of time where it was dangerous to be in our house, and he's now in residential care, which was the hardest decision my wife and I have ever had to make in our lives. But thanks to the wonderful people we've got around us and the support we had at the time, he's thriving. So now when we see him, we get the good times now. And he's doing so well. And so it was one of those, sometimes to do the right thing means the hardest of decisions, and you never find out it's the right thing until you've done the hard thing.
That is a thoughtful moment. I'm just, I know I've known you and George, for years, and listening to some of the things that you've done with him and for him over the years. This is another one. It's a big one. And one of my sons went to boarding school, and I didn't see him for weeks on end. And it's not the same though. Well, it was, because he never really came home again.
Everything is relevant to the individual. I mean, our mutual friend, Dr. Linda Shaw, the neuroscientist, she said something the other day that just literally just went for me, which is, if we are all absolute individuals, so how can we possibly truly understand another person's situation?
Never.
We can empathize, but when we say, I know how you feel, no, we don't. We can guess. But what is significant to me might not be for you, vice versa. So someone says, I cut my finger, that's nothing compared to you. No, well, actually, you know what, if you cut your finger, for you, if that's significant, then that's significant. And I think all of these things, it just teaches us that we're not made of glass. We're not made of glass.
So you mentioned a phrase which I'd like to pick up on, which is doing the hard thing. Now, thinking about massive goals and the reason why most people don't even pursue them, much less achieve them, how does that relate to doing the hard thing? It sounds like a leading question, but I'd really like to hear your views and also what you've seen with your clients.
Well, being from Birmingham, Mindy, I'm very much black, white, it's true or it's not true. Try to be very pragmatic. So when I interviewed top achievers, and they overwhelmingly alluded to not only massive goals, but the word purpose, I arrogantly kind of dismissed it as fluffy, woolly nonsense. And it was only when this overwhelming, almost tsunami of content and information from the research proved that nearly, if not all of them, had a reason why they did what they did that was bigger than their fear and insecurities around the goal, be it personal or business, that I started paying real attention to it. Then I had the privilege of interviewing Professor Adrian Furnham, who at the time was Europe's leading business psychologist by any measurement. I mean, Mindy, you and I could stand next to him and we'd get clever through osmosis, right? That's how clever the dude is, right? He said, everyone talks about core values. And he says, everyone talks about core values because it's the nice stuff. It's the fluffy stuff. It's my values are this, therefore isn't it beautiful? When in actual fact, we are both our values and our insecurities. And if you don't take into account your insecurities when you're doing something, they're going to crop up. And that's the thing that stops us. Because all of us fail, trip up, stumble, face plant in the corridors of life when we're going about our goals. But the ones with a reason why they must achieve the goal are the ones who get up, dust themselves down, and excuse my crudeness, they look the goal in the eye and go, is that all you got? Really? And they go again and again. And it's that relentlessness because of the purpose behind it. And I mean, and you asked about examples. I can give some terrific examples of clients. I'll start with the one I did because I was terrified of setting massive goals. And in fact, when I shared it with the team at Cancer Research UK, they, as good as, laughed me out the room, saying what I wanted to do was impossible. I set a goal to raise £50,000 in one event for cancer research, never having fundraised before, which, with hindsight, I can see why they laughed me out the room. What they didn't know, and at the time I hadn't realised, is that I had a purpose bigger than their concerns or my insecurities. I'd recently lost my mum to cancer, and I promised her that I'd do something in her honour. So when I walked out that room, it was, over my dead body am I not going to raise £50,000. We actually raised £288,000 in our first event and have since broken 4 charity fundraising records, raising over £750,000. And that's what happens when you have a reason why you must. And we've got clients. I know you're a big fan, like I am, of mastermind groups. And in my group this year, we've got 2 delegates who, for the first time, have not been afraid of marketing. They're superb at what they do. They've always been great at what they've done, but they've always been afraid to do what I call the grunt work. And this year, with the support and accountability of their peers and the facilitators and the guest experts, they have gone for it. They've been relentless, and they've got that why, they've got the massive goal, they've got the capability, and they are smashing it. And that's what happens when you combine a truly massive goal with a great purpose.
And that really sums it up for me. And I'm not sure, though, that it's combining. I think the purpose probably creates the goal, but we're into semantics now. But the purpose should be big enough to help somebody overcome whatever. And thank you for bringing in the phrase grunt work, which I assume is the hard work. Grunting is grunting optional, or is that required?
I personally like grunting, but maybe that's another podcast.
You're a rhino, so please tell everybody about the rhino, because a lot of our listeners won't have met you or heard you before.
I will. Whilst I reach back and grab a cow and a rhino, I will just also add to what you've just said, because you're quite right. Purpose leads the goal. But the purpose is a decision-making compass as to whether or not we should be doing things. So if you're purpose-driven and you truly understand your values and your insecurities, you can use them as a strength combined, which means you can look at anything and know in a heartbeat whether you should be doing it or not. That's power. That is real power.
That is power. And David has used the word should. And I love that, because all our NLP friends are like, oh, no, don't say should. And sometimes there is a should. Call it your conscience, call it your inner compass. You know what you should be doing. My whole TED talk revolved around this thought that if you know what you should be doing and you're not doing it, well, there's a disconnect and possibly other stuff. So you really did nail it. Oh, let's see the cow. I'm sorry, people who are just listening to the podcast on audio. You'll have to go to our YouTube channel and the Thoughtful Leader podcast and have a watch of the video. Go ahead, David.
So one of the people I interviewed very early on was an American author called Scott Alexander. When I asked top achievers, is there a book that not only would say, oh, that's a good book, I mean, game changer, a book that has honestly changed, fundamentally shifted you above any biography, autobiography, business management or strategy book, the most common book quoted is Rhinoceros Success by Scott Alexander. Now, I'm trying to be respectful to Scott here because he's a smashing guy, wrote a multi-million best-selling book. It's a bit of a short read, large print, big pictures, read in an hour job kind of book. But it has motivated more successful people than any other book. So I read it, and I'll be honest, couldn't put it down, wanted to charge it the next day. And in it, he talks about 2 types of animals, cows and rhinos. He says 97% of the population behave like cows, see what they want, and every single day do the same thing they've always done, and then moan about why they haven't improved. Hang around with the same people, doing the same things in the same places, scared to have a go in case people laugh at them. He says rhinos are 3% of the population. These are the people who see what they want and they charge at it. He says, and they're not the elephants. They don't tread on people to get what they want. They charge at the goal. And there's a difference. There's a difference between driven and what I would call relentlessly nasty. So here's the challenge, though. Most of us choose that. The truth is that 3% of our lives, we have bad stuff happen. I'm not a shiny suited, tall, dark, slim, white toothed, matching tie and cufflinks, pointy fingers kind of speaker. I'm the kind of speaker that goes, I'm having a bad day today. So I've got some stuff going on, but you're having it anyway. So 3% of the time we have bad days. We allow ourselves mediocrity 97% of the time. Every single one of us watching and listening to this have had 3% of our lives where we've gone rhino. We've absolutely smashed other people's or our own assumptions of what we're capable of. We choose that. The truth is that 97% of the time, we could be that. It's a choice. It's a choice. We can call it fluff. We can call it wool. We can call it nonsense. We can call it semantics. We can call it woo-woo, whatever you want to call it. It's a choice. We all have bad days. And my wife will tell you, I'm a grumpy middle-aged man. But you know what? When we're doing what we do, choose. Are we going to try or are we going to smash it? That's the ethos of rhinocerosicity, as I call it. 3% of the time, accept life's bad. 97% having it, not 3% having it.
Right. Well, that's really, really great. For people who've never seen it, I'm sure they're now reeling from the impact. So talk about making an impact. The point about it is, if we bring it back to massive goals, a massive rhino needs massive goals. Otherwise, it's probably not much fun. And I think most of us really prefer to achieve something massive. I mean, all the little wins are great. And I'm one of those coaches who says, celebrate every little win,
Yeah.
The massive things, the ones that stand out in your mind, the milestone achievements. Well, that probably did require some rhinocerosity or whatever you called it. That is accessible to everybody in this world, according to what I'm hearing. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah. And we've all, the beauty of it is we've all done it. I've even worked with people with like severe clinically diagnosed depression, who it might take 3 hours to get out of them something that they did that they were proud of because they're so down on themselves and the way they're thinking and behaving. But once you find it, they lift their head up. Once you get them to emotionally attached to where they were, and they lift their head up. We've all got one. We've all got one. And if we can do it once, why do we stop doing it? There's something none of the neuroscientists, neuropsychologists, psychoanalysts, psychologists I've interviewed have ever been able to answer this question for me, which is, why is it we stop doing what works? And why do we keep doing stuff that doesn't work for us? And it's a choice. It just comes back every day. Get up, go rhino, charge at the day. And we get stuff done.
I do think it is related to the hard work. And it's this moment where I'm going to ask you to speak about young people. You don't have to name them, confidentiality and all that.
Yeah.
What I think makes you and your work different is that you do create a lot of time and space for young people. You have spoken to and coached and helped and listened to a lot of young people. And, well, the children are our future. Don't worry, I won't start singing. But I really would like... It's true, though. And so let me make a distinction here. Very few young people, if any, listen to or watch this podcast. I know my demographics. However, people listening have teenagers and in some cases preteens. So I really would like to spend the next few minutes talking about how to get young people engaged, excited, tapping into their purpose, and actually considering the possibility of going rhino. What are your best tips?
Okay, well, with your permission, Mindy, I'll talk about it from the perspective of a parent or a business leader, because the role is the same. Parents are leaders. And for generations, our young people have looked to us as parents for wisdom, guidance. We are, I don't wish to date the podcast, but we're just coming out of the pandemic. We're bouncing back, but young people are terrified. The workplace is terrified. Leaders are terrified. Everyone's looking to parents and the leaders for expert guidance, wisdom, clarity, where we're going, what we're doing. And they're as scared as everybody else. So it's important that parents do three things with young people entering the workplace or indeed your own children. Number one is be visible. Don't hide. Be there for people. If it's at work, walk around, chat to people, sit, have a coffee. If it's with your own kids, get down on the floor, play at their level, be with them, talk to them. But in fact, no, get them to talk, you listen. And the second thing is be empathic. Now, for some people, that's easier than others, but there are a few people listening or watching this right now who would be courageous enough to say, I've had no issues whatsoever in the last 18 months. Most people have had stuff to deal with. it's a character building time. Please keep an eye out on your young people, especially aged between sort of 12 and 19 years of age. Are they eating more, eating less? Are they being monosyllabic when they're not normally? Or are they talking too much? Are they a bit hyper compared to normal? Notice changes and check in with them. Be empathic, care. And if you can't, make sure there's someone that they relate to that they can. And the last thing is be courageous. Be courageous enough to sit down and say, I haven't got all the answers. In business as well with your team, be courageous as a leader and say, I haven't got all the answers at the moment, but you know what? Let's go there and come with me. Let's do this together. We might stumble, we might trip, we might fall, but let's be courageous. Let's push when everyone else is hiding. So that works in business, and it certainly works with young people. Listen to them, though. Listen to them.
Thank you so much for sharing those 3 ideas. And the be courageous reminded me of the understanding and appreciating your insecurities.
Yeah.
The way you demonstrate that is to say, hey, I don't have the answer, or like you said before, I'm not having a great day. It'll show anyway, as I speak about on this podcast all the time. There's no point trying to fool anyone, including yourself. And if you are transparent and you just get on with it, then you can get on with doing the good work that we're all here to do. So what I would ask you to do in the last few minutes here is share your vision for our, let's go big, let's go Rhino. What's your vision for our society? And remembering that we have listeners and viewers all over the world, tell us some very big, thoughtful ideas that you have, just so that we can connect with you on that level.
I was chatting with a mutual friend of ours, Nigel, recently, and we were talking about the fear of change. And he said something that's just stayed in my head like a bullet, which he says, people don't fear change, they fear uncertainty. And as soon as he said, I went, yeah, what we need is certainty. We also need to be courageous to say, it might be wrong, but let's go big on it. Let's find out what we can. Let's find out what's true. Is it true that we're not very good? Is it true that Brexit will lead to disaster? Is it true that the pandemic will? We don't know. So let's work with what we do know to be true, which is every single one of us are more capable than we dare begin to play at. In terms of society, I've never been asked this question before, Mindy. I'm not normally a political animal, but I, for one, especially during the Brexit thing, got sick to death of people being polarized in their opinion and just arguing. What we need is to relearn how to debate healthily, maturely, and with intellect, rather than just opinion. We need to embrace change, but we need to go big. We need to find out who is doing what you want to do, and let us do the 2 things that top achievers really seek that most of us run away from. Top achievers seek support and accountability. Most people, especially, and again, I know you've got a global audience, Mindy, but in the British psyche, we tend to be too proud or naive to ask for help. We consider it a weakness. And yet some of the top sports people in the world have between 6 and 14 different coaches or mentors, one for every part of their life, business and sporting game. So are we too arrogant to assume we don't need one? So get support. The second thing that happens in mastermind groups and top achievers allude to is accountability. Most of us are very good at saying we're going to do something, but then when pushed, get off the hook by saying, oh, my cat ate my homework or something like that, or the house burnt down. Get accountability. See it as a positive thing, because it obliges us to do the stuff we've been putting off doing. And last thing, 1/3 of 1%. 5 to 10 minutes a day, eat the sprout on your to-do list. 1 year from now, buy me a beer as a thank you.
Oh, gosh, eat the sprout, a little bit more palatable than eat that frog, I must admit. And thank you for that. I thought you were going to sneak in a third one when you said there's only 2. I'm a bit of a rule follower, as you know. Not. So the fun aspect to this is I get to do a small plug for episode 36, which people may want to listen to again, which is where I talk about dancing with the enemy. So David has kindly alluded to the fact that we do live in a polarized society. We do need to listen to the other side. And for our own mental and physical well-being, we need to find ways of dancing with that other point of view person, comment on social media or whatever. I will also give a plug for a book which was published by a company that I know. And the book is called Go for Help. And it's about how to ask and receive help. Really, really great book written by some talented leaders. Right. Oh, I am so sad to say that our time is coming to an end. No, I don't mean it that way, guys. I just mean the podcast episode is coming to an end. David and I will still be here for a long time. Are there any last words of wisdom that you have for people listening to us or watching us now?
Set massive goals. There you go. If I can help anyone at all with their purpose, massive goals, or setting up a peer support group, just drop me a line. I'm over the internet like a rash. Just put my name into Google.
Yes. And all of David's bio information, biography is in the show notes, so you can connect with him. And I hope you do. Thank you so much for this very, very valuable time together, David Hyner.
My privilege, Mindy. Lovely to see you.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Thoughtful Leader, and I hope it's inspired you to be more thoughtful as a leader in your business. Please consider subscribing and leaving a review. An important question for you. Do you want to create a culture of thought leadership in your organization? My best-selling book, The Thoughtful Leader, is available now on Amazon and many other sites in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats. Please visit www.mindygk.com for more great content. That's www.mindygk.com. Speak to you again soon.